Hi guys, I thought I might take you around some of the streets in the village, and for those who watch any of my videos, this is probably one of the most important ones that you should watch, especially if you plan to live in Japan or plan to understand the culture. And I'm going to title this one Manners, Rules and the Law. But before this, I'd like to pay a shout out to Vern Blair for your generous donation on Buy Me a Coffee for the Stray Cat Cafe project. Thank you very much. It's very much appreciated. So this rarely gets talked about in Japan because a lot of people don't understand it, and they've been here for much longer than me, and they still don't get these concepts. So there's manners, there's rules and the law. So in Western culture, there's the law, and that's pretty much it. So people will always ask, can I do this? Is this lawful? Are you allowed to do this? Things like this, and it's always structured in the framework within the law. So while the law of the land in Japan is the law of the land, it's not actually how it works on the ground. The law is way down the list, and I'll give you a few examples. So if you're in Australia, for example, and noise, the law for the noise is 10 decibels before 9 p.m. That's what the police will operate on. So if somebody calls at 8:30 and says, oh, next door's too loud, and the police turn up and it's 10 decibels within the law, that's it. It's over. That's the law. That's not how it works here. So while you might not get a ticket, you might not get arrested, you might not get an infringement notice, whatever you want to call it, you might as well have, because you have violated the number one law of the land, which is manner. So what's the consequences? I'll tell you. Whenever anyone talks about you or your name, it's going to be a dark word. So some people say, I don't care. That's fine, which is fair enough. But there's consequences to this. So, for example, you're a loud guy and you're playing your Metallica music just under the legal noise, and you're doing odd stuff that annoys people in your neighbourhood. You're not going to get in trouble from the law, but your name's going to be mud. And come on, it's going to go back. So the consequences, you're not going to know straight away. It could be that cute girl that you're dating, their parents got wind of you being a bit of a rogue, and then all of a sudden she doesn't want to date you anymore. It could be you've gone for a job somewhere and you didn't get it. You're not going to know the reason, and that's because people see you as a troublemaker, someone who can't get along, somebody who's got no manner. So foreigners come to Japan, people hear these stories all the time. Went to Japan for 3 years and didn't work out, and couldn't make friends, and Japanese people are cold. They never mentioned any specifics about them, and they never have any reflection on maybe that their manner wasn't up to scratch. If you're seen as a person that can't behave themselves, people just don't want to be associated with someone like that, because that looks bad on them. So it's all like a harmonious thing as well. So there's a lot of intricacies in Japan, and if you just look at the law as it stands, it's going to puts you on the wrong path. So, for example, I get a comment, do you get in trouble if your grass is long from the law? And this is from a law standpoint. Do I get fined by the council? That doesn't mean anything in Japan. If you've got long grass and your neighbours don't mind, that's the law. That's fine. If your neighbours mind, that's the law. It's very simple. So this is why I always get people to watch my How Not to Buy a Kia video. Knowing your neighbourhood well before you buy anything. Don't just go and buy a pretty house off the internet, because you don't know what sort of communities you're going to be involved with, and if they suit your personality and whatever. So this is a great starting point. If you wanted to buy a house somewhere, is you need to know where you're going to live, and you need to meet people, and it's also the best way to buy a house. So people haven't watched that video. It's from 2 years ago, and starts off slow, but it's got a lot of good advice, in my opinion, in it. So as for the rules come after the manner. The law's after the rules, really. Somebody decides they want to set some rules. So let's say, for example, there's a little public park, and the public park is owned by the public. It's owned by the council, and somebody next door doesn't like soccer balls, for example. There's people kicking soccer balls, and it's annoying them. Not uncommon that they'll just walk outside and put a sign on there saying no balls please, and they have no legal authority to do that, and the police know that, everybody knows that, but that becomes the rules. So if one day there's some shenanigans going on with the soccer balls, and the police happen to get called, nobody's going to get into any trouble, but those people are going to be seen as people who just don't get along, who just don't want to play ball, so to speak. There's been some high profile media coverage of some silly YouTubers going into restaurants and being noisy, and people are shocked that the police don't arrest them. That's because that's the restaurant's rules. You can't be noisy. That's their rule. That's not the law. So the police can only ask them to move along, and if they refuse, they can go from then on. And a lot of people don't realise, but in the West we have this same system, and I'll explain why. They have a catch-all law in Australia. It's probably called something else in different countries, but it's called breaching the peace. So breaching the peace is a catch-all for people with no manners. So we'll take a really absurd example. If you're walking down the street and you're wearing yellow sneakers and your yellow sneakers are causing 100 people to be angry, and the situation is getting volatile just because you've walked in a bunch of people that don't like yellow sneakers, and the police are called, and it's getting a bit rowdy or whatever. The police can ask you to move on just for wearing yellow sneakers, and if you refuse, they'll arrest you. So if you don't go along with the manner, you're disturbing the harmony, even though you haven't broken the law. So I've worked with quite a few police officers in the security business, especially many that are retired, and I've heard so many stories similar to this. If you don't play ball and you don't have the right attitude, they'll just make something up. So don't be the shoot the messenger type in the comments. That's not helpful, and don't go disrespecting the Japanese culture. That's the way it is here, and if you don't like it, I've saved you a lot, haven't I? Of the hassle of moving here, and then eventually you finding out and not liking it and then moving home. So everyone's a winner here, so let's be a bit respectful. That's the way it's done here, and some people talk about the harmony thing in Japan like it's a bad thing. It's actually not. if you don't know how to get along with people, well, that's really your issue. And if you've bought in a place or in a community where people are unreasonable, you're the person who bought there, so you're to blame. So there's really there's no way to absolve yourself of any blame in a situation that you put yourself in. That's the way I see it, and that's the way I do. Why I do these videos is because I don't want that to happen. I know there's a lot of people who want to live in Japan, and that's why I put out informational videos like how not to buy an Akiya. And it's just not about a house. It's about how happy you're going to be in Japan. And a house means nothing. It's just a physical structure. Your community, being around nice people, having good things to do. This is what it's about. It's about being happy in life. It's not about buying a box. And there's nothing wrong with harmony. That's the way I see it. So it's got to a stage, especially in the West, and more so in America, is people establishing HOAs, housing something authority, and this is basically to stop other people disturbing the harmony. So you've got to keep your grass under so many inches, and you have to not have an unregistered car in your driveway, and sometimes you can't even leave the garage door open. They come up with all these sets of rules. How's that any different to manor? People see that as the law. It's the way they sort of visualize it in their minds. And it's exactly the same thing. They're establishing communities to standards that the people who want to live there like, and that's no different. So on the flip side, people who don't like this sort of thing, which is fair enough, everybody's different, but on the flip side, there's a lot of places that couldn't care less what you do. A lot of communities that are not close at all, and good for introverted type of people, and it'll suit you guys fine. So not everything's a negative. There's something for everybody, and you just have to know what your personality is, and what you like, and find the place you want to live, and then you find the house. So watch my How Not to Buy a Kia video, and you understand sort of my philosophy. And pull over here. This is shut up there. Understand my philosophy, and this is how I went about moving to Japan, finding my house and cafe and my community. So hopefully there's some really good information for you guys. There's some rural communities where they've had people for generations, and they're very, what's the term? Parochial about their neighbourhood, and they don't like foreigners coming in and maybe potentially changing things. A lot of that is in Japan, and you don't want to buy a house there just because it looks pretty on the internet, and so many foreigners do, and they end up moving away and re-abandoning their houses because just the area they bought is just totally unsuitable, and the community they bought in is unsuitable to them. So there's some things you're gonna not like. Let's say you like to have noisy music at 8 o'clock, and it really annoys you that the neighbours don't like it. What's wrong with putting some headphones in? You know, you need to meet people halfway sometimes. There's going to be a lot of things that you really like. There's always going to be stuff you don't, and you just have to be an adult about it. And that's the way people see things here. You have to look at it from other people's perspective. If you're in a farming community like mine, everybody's up at 4 o'clock in the morning at this time of year, and you don't want to be blasting music, and you don't want to upset them because they're your neighbours and your friends. So why would you want to do that anyway? So you need to be always conscious of your behaviour. Us foreigners, we always make mistakes. I make them all the time. You just have to limit them. Cultural mistakes, some things can seem rude and you don't mean it, and it's a learning process, so you just need to limit it and try and not be reactional, try and think about things sort of after the fact. Don't react to some things, and just be cool about it. And when you have a job in Japan, it doesn't matter what job it is, even if you're self-employed. I've got a cafe. If I were to go down to the 7-Eleven, a suburb over, and start carrying on and getting loud over something, everyone's going to know about it, and it's going to cost you. There's going to be consequences, so don't go to that crazy gaijin's cafe. If you've got a English teaching job at a school, and you could be half an hour away, and you do something that people don't like, and they know you work at the school, it'll come back and you're not going to know about it. So you just need to be mindful, try and go with the flow. People always say Japanese people are robotic or whatever. That's just because they don't understand the culture. So if everybody's turning their music off at 8 o'clock, you should too, and there's a reason for it. If you owned a company employing foreigners and they're on a 12-month contract, and you find out that they're playing up and upsetting everyone in their neighbourhood, are you going to renew their contract and say, oh, you can come and work for me for another year? Let's be serious here. This also works in our culture as well. So this is why it's important to keep the harmony. Okay, so almost home. So everybody's going to live their life the way they want to. I don't tell anyone what to do. This is an informational video, and obviously I don't know any of you guys, so you could do whatever you want. So don't attack the messenger. Just trying to shed some light on a few cultural things that no one's gonna tell you if they're just doing fluffy Kit Kat videos.
Let's go walk home.